Greetings, one and all. My name is Mind Power. People call me MP. Welcome to the channel. Guys, the title of this video is Narcissists, the 3 reasons they chose you and how to move on from here. I'm going to dive right into this video. Guys, the narcissist chooses you for 3 reasons. The first reason is whether or not they can idealize you. The second reason is you need to have 2 of the 4 S's for the narcissist. These are SEX, supply, safety, and services. You need 2 of those, right? And then the last one is whether or not they can scan you, and that's basically it. They're going to scan you for whether or not you fit the criteria for what they're scanning for when they're trying to match with you. And I'll go further into this to explain what I mean by that. And so, moving on to the first topic here, which is idealization. The narcissist chooses you basically for whether or not you have traits they can idealize. So now, if the narcissist is an academic, they're not going to look for someone who's smarter than them, right? They're going to look for you for other traits. So if you're a great cook, they'll idealize you for that. If you're a great pianist, these are skills that they necessarily don't have. The narcissist takes from every single person skills and traits and adopt them into themselves. And I'm sure some of you have experienced that, where the narcissist steals your ideas and pretends that they're their own. And that's because the narcissist embeds you inside their mind as an introject when they interact with you. Now, so the first thing is to see whether or not you have traits they can idealize, and they're not looking for much here. Anything goes. If you dropped out if you didn't make it to college, but you sell churros on the side of the road, they'll idealize you for being the greatest immigrant entrepreneur individual they've ever met. So the standard is not very high. Minimal is what we're talking about. Looking for the minimum reason to idealize you. And that creates the shared fantasy, right? Right? So now they idealize you. They take a snapshot of you when they meet you. And from there on, you're idealized inside their head, embedded into a frame of reference like a photograph permanently. And that's your idealization with the narcissist, right? The second reason the narcissist selects you is for 2 of the four S's. So let's start with the SEX. They're looking for someone when they match with you to see whether or not you're conformative, right? Whether or not you're submissive. And when I say submissive, just not going to say no to the narcissist when they want SEX from you. It's not very... Narcissist is very basic, right? But you have to be submissive, and that's the criteria, is whether or not you're submissive. Now, the other thing they're going to look for is whether or not you're susceptible to being manipulated into doing non-traditional SEX. What I mean by that, there's no limit, right? So we're talking SEX parties, SEX threesomes, foursomes. Some narcissists will go into sadistic. We're talking very, very abnormal ways of intercourse, right? Bondage, BDSM. And for the psychopath, you could put anything on the menu, including other living beings and species, and it gets really, really dark with them. We don't even need to go there. We're talking children. They're going to try. If they're really, really just dark, they'll get you on that journey. And this is why you'll see in many cases where a psychopath kidnaps a woman or whomever they kidnap. Sometimes it's men, Jeffrey Dahmer, right? You'll see that sometimes they have a partner who is a woman. She's submissive, right? She participates in the assault of another human being, the kidnapped victim, and and sometimes even go a step further and commit murder alongside with the narcissistic psychopath, right? And that's what I mean. They will get you. They're testing to see whether or not you're submissive and whether you're compliant to going into the perverse realm. If you have any past trauma, like you were, a victim of SA in the past, that makes you very susceptible to this kind of manipulation. And it doesn't take much. You don't have to be brutalized in the past for them to pick up on this, and they'll use that susceptibility to manipulate you for this reason, for sex. In terms of supply, the narcissist gets supply in two main ways. It's narcissistic supply comes from grandiosity, you praising the narcissist. You're just being a fanboy. You're being a sycophant. You're worshiping the ground they walk on, saying yes to everything. They get a lot of supply from that, but they also get sadistic supply, sadistic narcissistic supply, and that supply comes from getting a kick out of putting you down. So they're looking here for to see whether or not you can whether or not their words hurt you, whether or not you're susceptible to being physically assaulted, right? They'll test you out. They'll start out with raising their voice, and then they'll escalate. They'll raise a hand, and then they'll escalate. They'll throw something, and then they'll test you with actually assaulting you to see if you stay with them. Once you stay with them, the assault just comes more frequently, right? And so they're looking for things like that. And the other thing is services. So if the narcissist will look to see what services you can provide for them. Here I give you the example is, if you just met the narcissist when they're testing you to see whether or not you'd make a good fantasy partner for them. If they don't have a car, they're going to see whether or not you have a car, right? So now you become their driver. If their license is suspended, and they need someone to drive them around, they're going to try to find someone who has a car who can chauffeur them. You become the permanent chauffeur to the narcissist. If they can't cook and they like to eat, they're going to try to find someone who's a good cook. So that's a service you can provide. Normally they're looking for you to provide a service that they can't really get from other people. And so this also goes back to sex, where if you do something fantastic in the bedroom, they're going to latch on to you for that service. They view that as a service. You understand? And then the last thing is safety. Can you get addicted to the fantasy, right? That makes them feel safe. If you can buy into this partnership, and the way they look for safety here is for all the bad things, all the tests they put you through with the other 4 S's, testing you, pushing to see how far you'll go in the bedroom, pushing you to see if they raise their hand, if you accept it. All these tests are safety tests as well. So once you accept the abuse or the sadistic abuse, meaning putting you down just by words and seeing whether you accept it, then that tells them that they're safe, and that secures the fantasy for them. So they're looking for those kind of symbols as a means to see whether or not you fit the criteria to be with them. And then the last thing the narcissist will do is scan you. The narcissist has cold empathy, or we call it cognitive empathy. And so when the narcissist meets you, they're scanning you to see your susceptibility to being with them. And so they're looking for things like whether or not you're grandiose. If you're a person who is a grandiose individual, then that tells the narcissist you have some self-esteem issues, right? If you're the person who is susceptible to being entrained by the narcissist, doing what the narcissist wants, they're scanning you for that. So they'll test you, they'll ask you to do something, and see whether or not you do it. And are you self-loathing is another thing. If you take on if they blame you for something that you shouldn't be blamed for, but you blame yourself, that tells them that you're self-loathing, you're hard on yourself, and so they'll scan you for that as well. So those are the 3 reasons why the narcissist selects you. And I'm out of time, guys. I'll see you on the next video. Like and share.